most welcome to another exciting review. And guess what? Woo! We are starting the review of another book, another great book. And this time we're looking at The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. All right, this is a fantastic book about finances. This book is going to change the way you behave when it comes to money. In The Psychology of Money, award-winning author Morgan Housel shares 19 stories exploring the strange ways people think about money and teaches you how to make better sense of one of life's most important topics. Yes, money is one of the biggest issues of mankind. So it is one important topic that needs to be explored over and over again. So please sit back, relax as we review this wonderful book that is going to change how we behave when it comes to money. And today we're looking at the introduction that is titled The Greatest Show on Earth. And we're going to be seeing how your behavior affects your finances. All right. The author, Morgan, spent his college years working as a valet, at a nice hotel in Los Angeles. And at this hotel, there was one frequent guest that used to come there. He was a technology executive. He was a genius. He had designed and patented a key component in Wi-Fi routers in his 20s. He was very, very young, right? He had started and he had also sold several companies for you to know that he was actually a genius. He was so successful. In fact, he was described as wildly successful. He also had a relationship with money, and the author described this relationship as a mix of insecurity and childish stupidity. He would often carry a stack of $100 bills that were so high, a lot of money. He would often carry it around and showed it to people, those who were interested in seeing it and those who were not interested in seeing it. What a childish behavior. Indeed, right? He bragged openly and loudly about his wealth, mostly when he was drunk. He would just start bragging and talking all sorts of nonsense. And one day he handed over to one of the attendants at the hotel, he handed over to him several $1,000s of cash and said to him, go to the jewelry store down the street and buy me a few $1,000 gold coins. Not knowing what he wanted to do with it. And the moment the gold coins arrived, he and his buddies, childish friends of his, they went to the waterfront by the Pacific Ocean and they were throwing these coins into the ocean, bragging about whose coins went the farthest. They were actually throwing gold coins into the ocean. They must have been full of youthful exuberance. They did that for fun. And even while he was still at the hotel, some days later, he mistakenly broke a lamp. And the manager of the hotel told him that the lamp cost $500. And he immediately handed over the $500 to the manager, telling him, now get out of my face and don't ever insult me like that again. Well, this was just a few of his shenanigans. And just like the author was wondering, and I was wondering, and you are probably wondering what eventually became of him, it was reported that years later, he went broke. How would somebody not go broke if one behaves like that? We learned in the book titled The Richest Man in Babylon that money can fly away. If you don't treat money well, money is going to fly away from you. Money doesn't like to stay with those who don't know how to treat it well. It doesn't like it at all. Money is like a woman. Treat a woman well, care for her, pamper her, and all of that. And she will stay with you. She will last very well with you. But if you treat her anyhow, then she's gonna leave. All right. So the premise of this book, sorry about that. The premise of this book is that doing well with money has a little to do with how smart you are, but it has a lot to do with how you behave. So you can be so smart, you can know all the laws of money. Probably you have read Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon. You've even read The Psychology of Money, The Smart Money Woman, and so on. You know a lot about money, but how do you behave when it comes to money? That is the premise of this book. And behavior is hard to teach, even to really smart people, right? A genius who loses control of his emotions can be a financial disaster. And the opposite is also true. Ordinary folks with no financial education can be wealthy if they have a handful of behavioral skills that have nothing to do with financial measure of intelligence. When I was reading this, I could just imagine some market women in my country, Nigeria. Some of them are very, very financially intelligent, and they are disciplined when it comes to money, as in they save every single day. They usually have this people who go around collecting daily money contributions from market women, because many of them just sell petty things, and they can't go to the bank to probably save 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. So they have this daily people who go around collecting money from them daily. So they save. They save every single day. And at the end of the day, you will see some of them building houses, training their children to become graduates, university graduates. And you'll be wondering what they are selling. Is it from these groceries, or is it from just these fruits that doesn't even fill up 2 trays? You're going to be wondering. But they are so financially disciplined. They don't buy clothes anyhow. They don't lavish their money. They don't try to impress anybody. They make it a habit to save all the time. And you can see a bank manager who is earning millions in naira and not even doing so well financially, like this women. So that truly proves that it is not about how much you know of money or how much knowledge you have about money. It is about how you behave. Now we're going to look at the stories of 2 individuals here. Yes. Is it 2 individuals? Yes, 2 individuals. Let me not spill the beans. Let me just continue. The first one is Ronald James Reed, who was an American philanthropist, investor, janitor, and gas station attendant. This guy was the first to graduate from high school in his family. He lived all his life low-key. He graduated from high school. That means he had no university education. More like when you say, oh, you only went to secondary school, right? So in the world that we live in today, they cannot really refer to him as somebody who was educated. He lived a low-key life, very, very low-key. Reed, that's his name, fixed cars at a gas station for 25 years, and he swept floors at J.C. Penney for 17 years. He bought a 2-bedroom house for $12,000 at the age of 38 and lived there for the rest of his life. His wife died when he was 50 years old, and he did not remarry. A friend recalled that his main hobby was chopping firewood. But guess what? This guy died in 2014 at the age of 92. And when he died, he made international headlines. And why did he make these international headlines? Because of his net worth. Yes. In the same 2014, 2,813,503 Americans died. But fewer than 4,000 of these almost 3 million people that died in America in 2014, fewer than 4,000 of them had a net worth of over 8 million. But this guy, who had no university education, who lived his life low-key, who swept the floor of a store for 17 years and fixed cars at gas stations or at a gas station for 25 years, his net worth was discovered to be over $8 million. Right. And in his will, Reed left $2 million to his stepkids and more than $6 million to his local hospital and library. Those who knew Reed were baffled. Where did he get all that money? But then they discovered that he was not involved in lottery, was not involved in internet scam. In fact, there was no secret to his wealth. What he did was that he saved the little that he had, that he could save while he was working. He invested it in blue chip stocks. And then he waited for several decades, compounding this tiny savings, right? And it compounded into over $8 million, which was his net worth when he died. And that is it. From this guy who lived a low-key life, but eventually became a philanthropist. He was financially disciplined. A few months before he died, there was another man named Richard, and this Richard was in the news. Everything that Richard represented was the opposite of what Reed represented. Richard was a Harvard-educated man. He was a CEO, executive of a company. He was so rich. In fact, there was a time that Crane's Business magazine included him in a 40 under 40 list of successful business people. But then, just like the first guy, the young man, the executive, the tech executive that we talked about at the beginning, everything fell apart for him. By mid-2000s, this guy borrowed heavily to expand an 18,000 square foot home in Greenwich. He borrowed to build a masterpiece of a home that people will come around to look at. Let me describe the home to you. It was reported that this house was in Greenwich, Connecticut, and the house had 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 2 pools, 7 garages, and it cost more than $90,000 a month to maintain, not to build. He would need $90,000 a month to maintain, as far back as like the year 2000, right? But in 2008, during the time of financial crisis in America, he went down the drain. At a point, he said, I have no current income, right? His house was eventually foreclosed. It was sold for 75% less than its worth, right? Now, what is the difference between Reed, who had no university education and whose net worth was over $8 million when he died, and this guy, Richard, who was the executive CEO of a company, was a successful businessman and was stupendously rich, and who studied in Harvard? The difference is that Reed was patient, Richard was greedy. And these are behaviors. Look at the way they both behaved towards money, right? So the lesson here is to whether behave like Richard or Reed or anything. No, it may be more than that. You may begin to see yourself or to think about your own behavior. These are different behaviors. These are different behaviors that people show towards money. Now, I'm going to tell you something very, very quickly. I don't want this to go beyond 20 minutes. Something very, very quickly. I don't want this to go beyond 20 minutes. Okay. The fact that Ronald could be that financial than what you know. And this soft everybody needs to have this soft skill. It is a soft they imbibe stories to come more important than the technical side of money. You may know all the laws of money. Oh, save at least percent of your. You may know all the laws of money. Oh, save at least percent of your. You may know all the laws. Oh, in various terms, but how you behave when everything about money, putting money into balance sheets, observing these laws that we think that we know. All right, 2 topics that impact everybody are number 1, health, and the second one is money. Right. Those two topics are very, very important. The healthcare planning is another story, and you cannot do try and error with money. It is either you know it, you are disciplined, and you work towards it. Otherwise, it may not amount to anything financially, because money is actually everywhere. It affects all of us, and it confuses most people. Everyone thinks about it a little different. Money, I'm not leaving my money behind, I want to enjoy. And some people, just like Reed, would believe that, oh, I want to enjoy. And some people, just like Reed, would believe that, oh, let me save, let me invest. Look at the tiny amounts that he invests, $1 million in decades, right? That is a great behavior, a great attitude towards money. A lot of people can determine, oh, why something did not work out in order begin to go details, but the author is arguing that to grasp why people insecurity and optimism, great investors will now go to the wrong bottom of their finances. You have to look at their behaviors. What happened? Behavior towards money, right? History never repeats itself. Man always does, according to Volatile's observation. And this applies so well to how we behave with money. So what is your behavior with money? You need to think about it. That is actually when it comes to money. The skills that you put into practice, not just the laws that are in the head, because it's something to know something. It is one thing to know something. It is another thing to practicalize it. We can know different things in our heads, but when it comes to executing them, how do we behave? What is our behavior like? All right, this is actually a very great book. Short stories exploring the strange ways people think about money, and teaches you how to make better sense of your life's most important topics, which is the topic of money. A very, very important one at that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me on this review tonight. We've come to the end. This is actually the introduction that we did. So, Grace, the next is titled No One is Crazy. You don't want to miss that. Please don't forget to like this video, share your comments within the comment section below, and please subscribe to this channel in case you are yet to subscribe. I remain Olaide Agbaje, also known as First Lady. I'll come your way again by God's grace. Until then, be intentional. Bye.